The fog began to roll in as soon as we left the main road, heading toward the trails north of Anchorage. There were 4 of us: me, Matt, Sarah, and Brandon. The idea seemed simple enough. A weekend of hiking and camping in an isolated area that Matt swore he knew well. The only detail we all pretended not to take too seriously was the region's reputation: disappearances. People who went into the woods and simply never came back. On the way there, Sarah laughed and said, "Relax, that's just stuff from sensationalist documentaries." But no one laughed back. The dirt road grew narrower and narrower until the trees began to close in around us, tall and dense, like living walls. Dark pines blocked out almost all the late afternoon light. The sky was already signaling a full moon rising behind the mountains. That was when the car started to fail. First, a slight jerk, then another, until the engine died completely. "You've got to be kidding me," Matt muttered. We tried starting it again. Nothing. There was no cell signal, not a single bar. We got out of the car. The silence was too heavy. It wasn't a normal nature silence. It was empty, as if something was waiting. Then we heard the first howl, long, distant, echoing through the woods. "Wolves," Brandon said, a little too quickly. Maybe they were. We grabbed our packs and decided to keep going on foot. The trail was a little over 2 kilometers away. At least, that's what the offline map indicated. The full moon now lit the path enough for us to see the outline of the trees. The forest felt endless. Every branch snapping under our feet sounded way too loud. About 20 minutes later, we started hearing something strange. It wasn't footsteps, not exactly. It was as if something was moving parallel to us, always keeping the same distance, always in the dark between the trees. When we stopped, the sound stopped. When we walked, it came back. "You guys hear that too, right?" I asked. No one answered immediately. Then came another howl. But this time, it was closer and different. It didn't sound like a wolf. It sounded wrong, longer, almost human at the end. The trail led us to a small clearing where there was an old wooden cabin. It wasn't on the map. The structure looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Broken windows, a door left ajar, swinging in the wind. Sarah was the first to speak. This wasn't in the plan, but no one wanted to keep walking in that darkness. We decided to spend the night there. Inside, the cabin was worse than it looked. Thick dust on the floor, a strong smell of damp wood and something metallic, almost like rust. We found marks on the walls, scratches, too long to have been made by any normal animal. Matt tried to act natural, making jokes, but his voice was shaky. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up to a sound. Footsteps outside, slow, dragging. I held my breath. Moonlight came through the broken window, partially lighting the cabin floor. And then we heard it. We had 3 knocks on the door, dry, spaced out. No one moved. Another sequence of 3 knocks. Sarah whispered. The footsteps started circling the cabin, slowly, as if it were studying us. Suddenly, Brandon said he had to use the bathroom. Before anyone could stop him, he stepped out with a flashlight. The door closed behind him. We waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. Then, a scream. Short. Cut off. We ran outside. The forest was lit by the full moon. Everything looked silvery and unreal. "Brandon!" Matt shouted. No response. His flashlight was on the ground, still on, pointing into the dense brush. But he wasn't there. No signs of a struggle, no clear footprints, just absence. Panic took over. We decided to head back to the car immediately. We ran along the trail. But something was wrong. The path looked different. The trees were more closed in. The direction was confusing. It was as if the forest had changed. The sounds came back, moving all around us. Not running, walking, keeping pace. Matt started falling behind. He was panting, constantly looking over his shoulder. "Someone's there," he kept repeating. I didn't want to look, but I did. Between two trees in the distance, I saw something standing, way too tall, motionless, watching. The moon lit up just enough to show a silhouette, but nothing definite. When I blinked, it was gone. Matt started running in the opposite direction of the trail, screaming that he had seen eyes. Sarah went after him. I stood still for a second, the worst second of my life, because in that absolute silence, I heard my name, whispered, coming from the forest. It wasn't any of their voices. I ran, I don't know for how long. When I finally reached the road, the car was there, and it was running. The keys were on the ground next to the door. I got in and drove without looking back. The police searched for weeks. No sign of Brandon. No sign of Matt. Sarah showed up 3 days later, walking alone along a highway miles from there. She doesn't talk about what happened that night. She just repeats that the forest doesn't let everyone out.